Hi everyone, I'm Melinda Gallant, and I want to welcome you to a wonderful Cape conversation today with two terrific authors. You are going to learn so much about scallops. You're going to just say, I've got to go to Joe's Lobster Mart and go buy scallops. It is a fabulous cookbook they've written. They're very interesting gals. So come along, let's have a Cape conversation. Hi everyone, I can't believe I am standing in a kitchen in Sandwich, Massachusetts. Oh my gosh, and the aromas coming out of this particular pot are to die for. I am with Elaine Tammi and Karin Tammi, authors of Scallops. And it's actually kind of the book that has everything you want to know about scallops, but we're afraid to ask.
Absolutely.
So tell me, how long, I mean this is a thick book, it's got fabulous, fabulous recipes. How long did it take you to write it?
How long did it take, Mom?
Over 15 years.
Oh my gosh, and you're still speaking to
We're
each
still
other?
speaking to each other, and we have done over 65 appearances together.
Is that right?
Since the book came out in May 2011.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, what prompted you to do this cookbook?
I blame that on my daughter.
Oh yeah? Oh, you moms, you're all alike. That's what my daughter would say. You blame it on me.
In a scallop show.
Yeah.
It was my thesis research from the University of Rhode Island, my graduate degree,
Uh-huh.
on scallop restoration. We were so successful in this town of Westport, Mass,
Yeah.
that we started eating a lot of scallops. And then we started trading recipes.
Oh my gosh.
And then she said, "Why?"
From other scholars?
Yeah, from
Oh.
anybody who was involved in this restoration effort. There was the Shellfish Constable, there was townspeople, there were volunteers, there were fishermen, there were school kids and their families came together to help on this project. And we had such a scallop harvest that we were eating scallops for at least 3 weeks straight.
Bay scallops.
Bay scallops, I should mention.
Which are the little tiny,
Right,
juicy,
yeah.
sweet, yummy.
Yeah,
ones.
little cotton candy.
Yeah.
And she says to me, she says, wow, that's exciting. Why don't you gather everybody's recipes and I will type them up and put together a pamphlet for Christmas time and hand it out to anybody who's helped on the restoration
Oh
project.
my gosh.
And so here we are.
You've got
400 pages later.
Wait a minute. You're telling me this book started out as a pamphlet?
It started out
Oh
as,
my
as
gosh.
a pamphlet with just recipes and then a few photos of
Oh,
how
wow.
you scallop and a little bit of the history and a little bit of the biology. And now you have the first published book in the United States featuring New England's bay and sea scallop industry.
So what particular part did you divide it up? Did you do, well, I'll do the baked scallop recipes and I'll do the chowder recipes, or how did it go?
Excellent question.
We really didn't do that, and we probably should have done that, but we didn't. I'm the writer. I belong to the Sandwich Writers Group,
Oh, wonderful.
and I usually write mysteries.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Published? I love mysteries.
Just in the anthology that we
Yeah.
did.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
that's great.
They called me the Jessica Fletcher. And they told me I had to have a dead body, so I
Is that
had
right?
a dead body.
There you
the
go.
second one.
And a scallop recipe.
And a scallop
scallop
recipe. There you go.
We did Adrift and This Side of the Bridge, and Adrift is the second anthology, and that has sandy neck shrimp and sea scallops in it,
Oh, wow.
which I made especially for the mystery and for the cookbook.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. And your contribution then was probably a lot of the technical, because you are a scientist, correct?
That's correct. I'm a shellfish biologist and I run a shellfish hatchery at Roger Williams University in Bristol, Rhode Island.
Mhm.
It's a brand new facility named after a Rhode Island icon, Luther Blount. And we produce scallops, oysters, quahogs, razor clams, all restoration, and it's the only shellfish hatchery in the state of Rhode Island. So it's a pretty brand new facility. But going through my career, all these things were happening as we continued on this project together.
Right.
So my favorite thing is scallops. My favorite research organism is scallops. And so my background was to put together the biology, how the fishery, the history of the fishery, And we worked on the manuscript together on that. So there were things that we did together, and of course editing. And if we survived editing together, I think we could survive anything, because it was always a question of, I don't like that adjective, I like to say it this way, but we survived it. And the testers, we had how many testers?
Oh, we had 4 pages of acknowledgments in the back of people that helped us. Like, you know, if it takes a village to raise a child, it took all of New England to write this cookbook.
Is it?
We had a lot of help. And a lot of testers.
Testers were friends and professional chefs who contributed to this. We have 22 professional chefs who contributed some of their favorite recipes.
And that's what I saw when I was, you know, when I was looking at the book and reading through it. And I'll be honest, I haven't read the whole thing yet, but what's really kind of interesting to what I went through was look for all the good recipes that I learned.
Yep, sure.
Not for myself to try, my husband cooks. So I'm going, okay,
Try this
I got one for you to do for me.
Right.
But what I noticed were, I mean, you have some very, very notable chefs in there with, almost like secret recipes that you can't get from the restaurant. If you went in and had the dish at the restaurant and asked for the recipe, they'd go, no, we're not giving it to you. But in this book,
right. We were very lucky that, you know, to stumble upon the subject and sort of work on this subject. And then Chris Schlesinger was nice enough to write the foreword. So, and of course now everybody knows about Chris Schlesinger in this area, but and everybody also knows him outside of this area. And of course with the advent of the Food Network, people know him, and then we have the whole Julia Child story.
Right, and I was just going to ask you about that. I mean, really, Julia Childs helped you with getting this book published.
Right, and I like my mother to tell the story because she corresponded with her at least 10 years before Julia's death. So.
Is that right? Well, what happened?
Yeah, well, Julia, we had a cottage in Dennisport, my husband and I, for many, many years. Actually, I grew up spending summers on Cape Cod. And I wrote a letter to Julia, and the phone rang at my place, and I was not there. I was out gallivanting with one of my friends. He was there with one of his fishing buddies, Frank. So the phone rang, he answered it, and she said, he said, who's this? And she said, she said, Julia Child. And he said,
she said, Julia Child.
Yeah. And she said Julia, and he said, Julia who? And she said, Julia Child. And she's not here, so please call her back. And what's the message? So the message was for me to call her the next day at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't really call people at 6:30 in the morning.
Absolutely.
But I went to 6:45, and I called her, and we discussed how she likes her scallops. She likes them poached, and I had never had them poached till I did some of the recipes for the cookbook, and they were delicious. And I would, you know, tell everybody to poach their scallops with a little white wine. And then we discussed wet and dry scallops. The wet scallops are the ones that have the STP on them, which Karen can talk about. And she likes the dry scallops. And then we hung up. That was it. That was it, but we still corresponded for many years.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Right.
That's wonderful. And she provided you with names and said, use my name, and didn't she?
Right.
She
After Mom's conversation, she really encouraged us. She said, this is a wonderful idea. I don't know why somebody hasn't done this yet.
Right.
She said, be persistent. You're going to have to work hard and keep at it, because that's the way the publishing industry is. But you have a wonderful idea. Stick to it. And she said, here are some names of some magazines and the editors who I'll put you personally in touch with. And so she gave us those within the correspondence of the letter. And then she said, you tell them that I told you that you are going to, you know, be maybe a feature. And so how many people can say that Julia Child told me that I should call you? So,
and you did it.
And we did. And we followed up, and we did many articles. We did one for Food Arts Magazine. And
we interviewed a lot of chefs.
You interviewed Eric Rippard and Meg Sy, Jasper White.
Meg Sy too. Jasper too. Wow.
Jasper White likes his done for 45 seconds on one side only. And Meg Sy says that the Cape Cod bay scallop tastes just like cotton candy.
Well, I agree. I would agree with him there. You could just eat them till you're sick.
Right.
You know, they're so wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful.
So the thing about scallops, when you talk to these professional chefs, is they absolutely love the versatility of them. They love cooking with them. And now, in 10 years and 15 years that we wrote this cookbook, you see the advent of the cooking channels.
Right.
And so it's funny to see my students I'm watching Food Network. Did you see the Sea Scallop Challenge last night on Iron Chef? And I'm like, no, I didn't see it. Well, let me send it to you on the email. You can actually go and watch it on your computer. So in the time frame that we've done the social media and the Food Network and options for students being able to go into the culinary field and watching these TV shows,
absolutely.
the scallop is always featured. It's amazing how you can see, and it's usually a New England product.
Well, and you know, that's the other thing too, is we don't realize sometimes, I mean, shame on all of us, how wonderful the fish is here.
Right.
And certainly how important it is to keep the fishing industry alive
Absolutely.
and healthy in many ways. And it sounds like you're probably, with what you're doing and your efforts in Rhode Island, you're doing that.
Yes, and Massachusetts is doing the same. A lot of the Cape Towns are doing various enhancement to make sure we always have bay scallops. And, And out in Martha's Vineyard, Rick Carney at the Martha's Vineyard Shellfish Group has been there for over 30 years doing his thing, making sure that the waters out there are full of bay scallops.
Right.
So, you know, it is a local product, and we wanted to talk about that in this cookbook. So when you are buying scallops and you're a New Englander, you're actually eating locally. You're helping these restoration efforts because there's a lot of funds that are coming back into these programs for bay scallop enhancement. But the sea scallop story is another fascinating story that is now considered a sustainable fishery. It's the one good story about coming out of New Bedford after the collapse of the fisheries, and it's worth over $300 million to Massachusetts economy.
Is that right?
That's what comes into New Bedford every year.
Wow.
And it's now considered a sustainable fishery, and it's become the poster child for sort of shellfish, what we call wild capture fisheries remaining in the world.
It's amazing.
So, you know, you see my mother has shells all over the pond out here. They come from all over. When we give talks, we usually tell people that a lot of the other cultures around the world now resort to intensive aquaculture to make sure they can keep scallops on the plate. But our New England sea scallop industry is thriving and sustainable.
Now, this has nothing to do with cooking, but I have to ask the question. You know, you hear about farmed shrimp.
Yes.
The difference between farmed shrimp and wild shrimp. And shrimp from Thailand that might not be as clean as wild shrimp and whatever. Does that affect farming scallops? Does it have the same effect as it would on the shrimp, or is it a cleaner mollusk? It is mollusk.
Actually, shellfish in general, especially here on Cape Cod, when you see aquaculture and farming of them, you should not be afraid of it. You shouldn't lump them together with what your fear is of a farm-raised foreign product that's coming in. Very clean. We have high standards of water quality. We have the highest in the world. So one of the questions is, you know, when we're importing lots of shrimp and importing other things for the seafood aisle, we wonder, is that country that we're importing from, do they have the same standards as American water quality? And so you should not be fearful of that. I think especially here on Cape Cod, you've got fresh oysters, you've got little necks, you've got scallops. And yes, I think the way of the future is that aquaculture and fish farming is here to stay. In fact, when I see my students come through our program, they get their biology and marine science degrees. But when they leave, I see them as restoration biologists. Because when they go out into the world, whether they're studying fish or shellfish or plants or trees, they're trying to bring back what we've lost in the last 100 years due to human ignorance or building or pollution. So aquaculture is a toolbox for us to make sure we have tons of little necks, oysters, and scallops available. We can't duplicate that kind of aquaculture in the offshore sea scallop, because it's so far out there in such deep, rough waters.
It's so down,
and I think other cultures have been trying to do that, but it's very difficult. So you cannot imagine what $350 million worth of scallops looks like. That's hundreds of thousands of pounds of scallops coming in.
Right. It's truly amazing.
So you still need a vessel. You need people to run that ship. You need somebody to make the gear. And they need to get off to go get to those.
So it's its own economy.
It's its own economy that's really helping New Bedford.
Not only helping Bedford, but all of Massachusetts, because we have not been affected by the economy as much as others have. And maybe that's one reason why, is because we have all these other smaller industries, you know.
One of the industries we should point out is we went to, in June, we talked to the Cape Cod Hook Line Fishermen's Association. And it was an evening where we...
They do the hooker's ball.
We were invited this year. So we gave a talk, and they had two commercial guys that were very happy to talk about how they have dayboat scallops coming out of Cape Cod, usually
that's
out of the
great.
Chatham or Wellfleet area. The location of the Cape, they can get into the boats, get out to the sea scallop beds, bring them back the same day. And they're young guys. And so what's really nice to hear about that is they're modern fishermen. They have to know everything about the boat, the GPS, and the government regulations are all online now. So they have to be pretty internet savvy. And they're very proud that they should be able to hand that business down to their kids. And they show pictures of their kids, both men and girls and boys.
Well, and this
So when you're buying a scallop, you know, you're buying something that's within 50 miles, so it's sustainable, local, especially the sea scallops.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what, isn't that what it's all about? It's carbon footprint, sustainability, it's all of that. So,
Yes.
you're going to cook for us a little bit,
A
right?
little bit, but I think we did, I don't know which recipe you'd like, but we do have some chowder.
We're gonna have the chowder in a minute. We're gonna
Okay.
close with the chowder, as they say.
Very good.
So I can eat and not.
Okay.
And you're gonna see some scallops.
And you're gonna sear some
Right.
scallops the way they should be seared.
Terrific. I'm going to get
Alrighty.
to that. So.
Excellent. So now tell me, Karen, what are you doing?
All right, so what I'm going to do is show you how to sear some scallops.
Okay, because people probably overcook these, don't
They
they?
do. It's
There
one
you
of the
go.
most, and shrimp and scallops are usually overcooked. So we're
Right.
going to try to do that to show the audience here.
Uh-huh.
So when you get scallops at the market, you can get bay scallops, you can get sea
Nice.
scallops. These are fresh. In other words, they were
smelling
shucked.
to see.
They were shucked at sea, kept on ice.
Nice.
Okay. And then it's from Joe's Market, Mom? Yeah, here in Sandwich. They were
Yeah.
donated for this taping today. So they usually come in and they've been, most of the animal is gone and tossed overboard, and then they're just, what you have is the muscle. This is the muscle
Uh-huh.
that everybody loves. It opens, it's what the animal uses to open and close the shell.
Mhm.
There's another piece of tissue that you normally take off.
Right.
It's sometimes referred to as the foot. And some chefs like to cook this, Mom, and make a sauce, right? They'll save it, but it can be really tough.
Mhm.
So what you want to do is you want to pull that off. I've already sort of cleaned these very carefully, quickly, pat dry them with a towel.
Mhm.
Now, with searing, what you want to do is you can roll them in salt, sea salt and pepper. Sometimes I've used cumin and cinnamon.
Mhm.
Cinnamon is a great way to roll them and then sear them
Oh,
in
yeah.
hot oil. And kids love it.
Mm.
Kids will actually eat that. So what I'm doing is I got my oil in the pan here. You can use olive oil. You can use grapeseed oil. You can use butter. And the whole point of this is you want that pan to be super, super hot.
Right.
And so you don't want to crowd the pan either. So I'm trying to move quickly, so it's nice to have other helpers that sort of get your assembly line going.
Yeah.
And you pop them in. And I'll just do 5 right now to show you. And here's the thing about searing. Depending on the size of your scallop, if you're getting those very large sea scallops, which are 10, it might take up to a minute on each side. And then you want to flip them. My mother had said earlier when she did an interview with Jasper White, it was 45 seconds per side.
Wow.
What I found is people tend to get a little nervous when they're searing their scallops. And you can see they've been in the pan maybe about 40 seconds.
Right.
And they're searing, you can hear them. What ends up happening is people go and dive at them too soon to turn them.
Right.
And when you do that, you end up that tissue ends up staying in the pan,
Right, which you don't.
which you don't want. So the thing about scallops and heat is that they will pull away. And when they pull away, they'll have that golden color. And the scallop itself is very sugary. And so I'm going to just check on this one right here. It's starting to pull away. It has a
Yeah.
nice color to it.
Yeah, perfect. It's a perfect scallop.
And so you're looking at this process not taking very long at all. So, and you know, I've had friends that say, I love doing the seared scallop recipe, Karen, because it makes me look so professional once I figure out what pan to use,
Right.
what oil to use.
And you have a flat bottom, very heavy pan.
Right, this happens to be one of the all-clad pans from
Yeah.
Williams-Sonoma.
Yeah.
And it's
So
a searing
heavy.
pan, and you
Right.
can use cast iron.
Sure.
You will not get the same effect with a non-stick pan.
No.
You'll get more of sort of a heated, but you won't get that caramelization going on. So that's basically what you do. Now, as soon as this side is done, they'll pull right off. You can keep them warm, or you can actually put them in the refrigerator and have them another day. So for example, in the
So
summer,
they would keep.
they'll keep.
How many days will a scallop keep?
I don't like to keep them past 3 days or so like that. I'm just cautious.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can prepare this ahead of time and have friends over for a warm scallop salad the next day, or a cool scallop salad, and use any dressing.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And for those people that are on Weight Watchers, I found this out from the Weight Watchers crew in at Roger Williams University
Yeah.
is you can have the points. These are sort of unending points because
So you can just make yourself sick again.
yes, you can, but usually 3
Oh, good.
together with a salad. But what they told me is it's the devil's in the details of salad
Right.
dressing.
Right.
So worry about the salad dressing. Or some
Okay.
people will finish this right now with a big pat of butter to give it sort of a creamy buttery
Chefs
flavor.
do that a lot.
Right.
They're buttering everything.
Right. Yep. And like I said, I told people here's a nice one right here. You can see if I can get it. You can see that
Yeah.
on the camera.
Yeah.
So they're nice and hot, ready to serve. Serve these right up. And I started playing with my other spices. Like you can use, I don't have them out here, but you can use curry. You can use cumin. The cinnamon is a great way of getting kids to eat scallops.
I would never have thought of
So what you do is you do the same. You roll it in cinnamon. You can saute it and then finish it with a little butter, and it tastes like a cinnamon butter with a that wonderful flavor of
Yeah.
scallop.
Yeah.
The kids love it.
Oh,
So
that's
some of my friends said that's the way they were getting their kids
That's
to try
great.
scallops. Gently
Wonderful.
ease them into seafood.
Sure. A good way
So
to do it.
that's how you would sear them, and you can use a cast iron pan as well. Now we use dry scallops. We got these locally at Joe's. These are sea scallops.
Right.
These happen to be the smaller of the sea scallops, and of course.
Did you pick them out personally? I mean, did you go, we want smaller ones, I want that one, I want that one?
We didn't do it this time. We have done that
Right.
though. So
Which they love you down
They
there
think
when you
we're
do that.
crazy sometimes,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And here
I
they
don't
come.
blame
Here's
you.
the scallop ladies.
Yeah.
But bay scallops will be coming in right now. So bay scallops are usually the per pound, just across the board, you're looking at anywhere from $14.99, $13.99, as high as $18.99 a pound
Right.
for sea scallops. That's not going to go down.
Right.
For bay scallops coming in, that price is just a little bit more. So I think, in the Boston market, it's up to $25.99 a pound on the Boston Seafood Market retail right now. So they're considered a prime item,
Right.
and they're almost like a celebratory thing. So
Sure.
make yourself a plate of bay scallops.
That's right.
And, it's a
Enjoy.
little more expensive, but enjoy. But I want people to remember that when you're cooking up bay scallops, it's local. And when you're paying that buck to the local fella, that money is actually going back to our local economy.
Absolutely.
And it's actually going to help the local shellfish constables help rebuild the fishery by keeping restoration projects going.
Which is fabulous, it's fabulous. Now, in this pot, which I'm just gonna take
Yeah,
the
go
lid
ahead and
off,
take that off.
I just wanted to take a look.
And let me get let's get this stirred up a bit. So what we have here is a scallop and corn chowder.
Look at
Okay.
this.
And,
Yum, yum.
This
And
is
it's thin, it's not, do you know how when you get, you go somewhere and you say, oh gee, I'll have a clam chowder.
Yes.
And you can put your spoons, will stand, I hate that.
right.
This
right.
is real.
This is considered
chowder.
gluten-free. We did not use any flour to thicken it.
Can you just kind of pick it up and let it, yeah,
Sure.
pour it down. See how nice that is?
Yep.
Yummy.
And I think Elaine's getting your
Oh
chowder bowl
oh
here.
my gosh, this is here we have the, and it says chowder, it doesn't say chowda, because that's not how you spell it, it's chowder. Oh, I'm sorry, it does, yay, chowda.
Well, we bring this dish with us a lot to our book signings, and so how you make this
Yeah.
particular is you can get fresh native corn.
Uh-huh.
You can cut it off,
From
steam it
Crow
up.
Farm here in
Crow Farm
Sandwich.
has actually supplied a lot. You have
That's where it came from.
it's
Is that
where it came
right?
from,
That's
yeah.
great.
Potatoes, leeks, and then with the corn,
Oh,
I don't know if you can see that. Right there.
that's beautiful.
So with the corn, you can actually save the stalks and make a corn stalk and add that in, so you get the sweetness of the corn.
Hot, wonderful. I'm assuming one of these spoons I need.
Yes, yes, we're gonna try it. It's a little hot.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh.
And so chowder is one of those things that we've discovered that you can make the base of the chowder the night before, and it tastes.
What goes in the base?
So we have cream. You can use half and half, right? Cream. Potatoes.
Celery.
Celery,
I can taste
leeks.
the celery. The leeks. You can
And
really
then you
taste
can
the leeks.
season it with whatever you want. We have sea salt, pepper,
The
thyme.
thyme makes a little bit sweet.
Yes,
Which
it
is
does.
nice.
It does. Usually I add some fresh thyme from my garden, and so the next day they cook it up, and then you add your scallops the next day. You can do this all at once, or you can add them the next day, so you get them
Ah.
fresh. And the other thing that we've done is get this nice and hot. Get your scallops ready. Get the chowder in the chowder mugs, and plop your scallop in, so
Well,
that they're not overcooked.
This is
That's a good
fabulous. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It is to die
It's
for.
hot.
Now, you're back to show us how to gracefully serve scallops on a salad. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
That's correct.
Here you go.
Okay. So what's in the salad? This is just a basic fall harvest salad.
This is just spring mix, I guess you call it
Yeah,
that.
and
Yep.
some yellow
Yellow tomatoes.
tomatoes, yeah.
And then we just, do you want to?
Yeah, look at the dressing. Look at the dressing.
We have two kinds of dressing.
Oh, great. And you want to drizzle it. You don't want to
Right.
plop it.
Right.
People always plop and put too much salad dressing
Well,
on
it's
it.
always, this time of year when it's a little chilly, it's always tough to sort of get this sort of to come off the spoon. But
Yeah.
you could just sort of put it around like this, best you can.
Wonderful.
This happens to be a honey mustard from
Oh,
Stonewall
ooh,
Kitchens.
that's
But you can
perfect.
use any of your favorite dressings, right?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. You
That's
can use a
wonderful.
light version of that, you can use a balsamic,
Excellent.
anything.
Excellent. So now you're going to do.
We'll do one more there.
There you go. Wait a minute, this person's getting skinned.
Yeah, put two in
You
there.
gotta, you have to do the same.
You know, it
number.
reminds me of Julia Child. When we had the Julia Child dinner,
Yeah.
we all had skewers of applewood
Smoked.
bacon wrapped scallops.
Oh, yum.
We all got one skewer, she got two.
Well, there
And we
you
sat
go.
next to her during the whole thing. So Chef Chris Lessinger really treated her very well.
Oh, that's great.
So,
That's great. That's wonderful.
there we go, that's it.
Terrific.
And
Look
that-
how beautiful that
And it
looks.
makes you look like one of those
So
professional chefs.
you have a scallop, you can have scallop chowder with a little side salad and then a crusty bread.
That would be very good.
Whoa, I'm ready for dinner.
Well,
Joe.
hope you're staying.
Yeah.
We're ready to wrap it up so we can start eating, right?
There we go, that's right, that's right. Anyway, thank you so much. This was so wonderful. It was, first of all, nice to meet you both.
Yes, thank you for coming here.
And
Thank you for
it
coming.
was great, and I love all the scallop shells everywhere in this place, and your condo is amazing. There is a scallop shell on every single wall, in every single room. It's
We
too
forgot to
cute.
mention the sea scallop.
Oh, that's right, you do
This
this,
is a sea scallop shell.
right, which is the
Most
bigger
people
shells.
don't see these because
No,
they're
they-
ducked at sea.
Yeah, right. Actually, this wash up a lot though, sometimes on the.
Yeah,
on
you
the
see
beach.
those
Yeah.
on beaches,
When they
yeah.
do it, so. Anyway, thanks so much, it's been
Thank
wonderful.
you,
and
thank you for coming.
Now I'm going to get to perhaps have a little more of my chowder. Oh, you caught me. All right, I have to fess up. I was so anxious to eat the chowder that I closed too early and I got in trouble. So I'm closing now because I forgot to say a few things, of course. However, I want you to look at this gorgeous salad. Oh, I'm so excited. Anyway, I wanted to tell you that you can go to the website, their website, and get a couple of recipes. Look at the cookbook online. Take whatever you want to do, but you can go to their website, which is scallopcookbook.com. www.scallopcookbook.com. Go online, and they even have a Facebook page, which would be fabulous if you'd go in there and like that too. Wonderful show today. It was great fun. Lovely ladies. And they're in the town of Sandwich, in our own backyard, being so creative and doing some wonderful, wonderful work down in Rhode Island with sustainable fisheries. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time on A Cape Conversation.
Thank you.